Hi everybody, it's Queen Jelly and welcome to or welcome back to the Toy Box. This is a doll and toy themed YouTube channel. I like to post at least once a week and it is aimed at adult collectors such as myself, but I do my best to keep the channel family friendly. Do just keep that in mind, however. With that being said, today's unboxing is going to be of Cleo DeNile. She just barely won the vote for this week, so she is going to be our next unboxing in the series here, where I'm unboxing the the Core Refresh collection. So the original ghouls, but in their newer looks. Again, I know these are a little bit of an older set of dolls, but I've had them around for a while and I'm just now getting around to unboxing them. Before I get started, I just want to remind you that you are free to use the timestamps down below at any time if you would like to. I like to do my videos in segments. First, we'll talk face to face for a little bit. Then we'll turn around to the desk. We'll look closer at the box. And then, of course, do the review of the doll themselves. And at the end, I like to add in a few photos. And if I know what video is coming up next, I will add in a clip at the end. But that might not happen for a while, and that's part of what we're going to talk about next. Before we do that, though, I do want to remind you that there are still 3 other dolls to be unboxed from the series. So we have Claudine, we have Frankie, and we have Draculaura. In order to vote for which one you would like to see next, you can go to my community page. There will be a poll up there with the pictures of these 3 dolls, and it will ask you which one you'd like to see opened next, so that way you can vote and decide which doll you'd like to see posted next on the channel. You can also leave a comment down below that counts towards a vote as well, if you just leave the name of the doll that you would like to see from this series. The next thing we need to talk about right now is the foreseeable future of the channel. It's nothing bad, don't worry, but I just want to give you guys an update on it. So lately, my job decided that they were going to go with AI schedule instead of honoring our system that we had previously, where we could actually get shifts that worked for us. And so now I'm being scheduled whenever they feel like, for however long they feel like, and it is not very good for my mental or physical health. I am disabled in multiple ways, and them taking away my consistent schedule has really not done well for me. And so that, combined with the fact that we are now getting into August, September, October, which is my busy months, for lack of a better term, because I am a spooky gal at heart. I'm probably only going to be posting once a week for the next couple of months. Now, my plan is to have videos ready to go, so that way on weeks that I don't feel like filming, I don't have to, and they're already there and ready. And then if I do film a video, it kind of gets added to the pile and kind of allows me to maybe post more than once a week. It'll just kind of depend on how quickly I can get some videos filmed, edited, and uploaded. But like I said, I'm going to do my best to at least maintain the once a week. But just know, if it's only once a week, that's all that's going on. I just am working more than usual. So as you can probably hear, my voice is very strained. And also it's going to be, like I said, Halloween season, where I'm doing all sorts of different activities. I've done this in the past where I've kind of slowed down my filming, and also, like, I have so much going on that, like, my focus isn't really on my dolls. Of course, I still love my dolls and I take them with me a lot of the time to these events. I'll dress them up or take specific ones. So, like, I'm still interacting with them. It's not like my love for them just disappears, but that's not where my focus is. So it's kind of hard to bring my focus in to record and to kind of really focus and give you guys the videos that I would like to. So that's why I'm going to kind of, again, not force myself into anything that I don't want to do, because then that defeats the whole purpose, especially because I'm not monetized or anything. I don't make any money off of these videos. In fact, they cost me a lot of money because I have to pay for the dolls, and I'm not complaining about that at all, because obviously they're my dolls for my collection. I keep every doll that I buy. I've never, like, bought a doll to sell it or anything like that. So it's my collection that I'm just sharing with you guys. So again, I'm not complaining, but I'm just being honest about why you may see a slowdown in videos for the next couple months. Again, I'm gonna do my best to keep up with it, but I'm not going to force myself into anything. So I hope that you will stick with me through this. Again, my best will be to continue at least a weekly upload. So again, I really appreciate all of you, and I will see you in just a moment on the desk, because I think that's all that I have to say for now. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in just a second. All right, so here we are now on the desk with our Core Refresh Cleo. I do also have the original Core Cleo back here. We will look at them side by side at the end. So for Cleo here, on the front of their box, of course, it has their name. It says Cleo DeNile, but it does not have any name here for their snake, which their name is escaping me right now, and I should know it. Hisette. There we go. Which is kind of interesting because most of them have had a little nameplate here. I don't know if it's just mine or all of them, but we have Cleo, Draculaura, and Frankie here. And of course, the Monster High. And then on the side, we have these icons, which I believe are still based on the original ones. I don't think they updated them for the Core Refresh. And then on this side, it says Monster High. And of course, there's the barcode. Not that I think you will need it at this point, but I do always show those in my Monster High videos. And then here is the back of the box, where you have this gorgeous artwork of Cleo up front. And at least this time, the artwork actually matches the doll, because if we remember from the original Core Refresh, or the original Core dolls, the concept art was different than, like, all of them, of course, had concept dolls that were different. But like the art, the outfit that she was shown in her art was different than the final outfit that we got. Back here, we have the other 4 ghouls. And then it says Monster Type, Regal Radiant Mummy, Monster Must-Haves, Eye of Horus Boba and Heartjar, Monster Pet Hisette. Very simple box as always for Monster High, so we'll go ahead and get it open. So now we have Cleo out of her box and all of her accessories, which I'm really excited for some of these accessories, honestly. But what I will point out is that all of the core dolls in the first and second wave have had this like separate piece I've taken out and kept for all of them, because eventually I would love to make a display with all of these parts. The reason I point it out is because it's interesting that only the core series has seemed to have it like this. Most of the other series, it's glued to the front of the package, so whenever I've tried to save it, it's left a rips in the designs. But these ones have come out super easily. I'm glad that they did that again for the refresh dolls. As for the rest of her actual official accessories, we of course have her heart in a jar, which I think is so, so cool. It is suspended in there, held on by a little snake. Now, I do feel like mine's turned a little bit sideways, because if you look at the heart straight on, it's like right behind these like lines, and would have really liked if it was facing more towards the front. Oh, okay, good. I could take that back then, because it opens up and you can straighten that out. Okay, that makes me feel a lot better now. But there is the snake wrapped around the heart, and there's a little heart on the top of the jar, and I think that's so cute. I obviously, if it was really like her canopic jar, it would not be clear, but I appreciate that they did the clear so you can actually see it without having to have it like open as a separate piece. I've seen a lot of people display their Frankies holding this, and I think that that is just brilliant, because I am a hardcore Clanky stripper, so I do love that. And then we have their pen, which I guess is a thing in this core refresh, because so far I think all of them have had pens, but I have only opened 3 of them so far, and one of them was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure that Frankie also had a pen. So but there is a little scarab on there with some wings. Now, I would have rather them all had cell phones again, rather than having pens, but these pens are very cute. And then we have her food accessory, which is a pizza in a pyramid box. So the pyramid box has a scarab on it and some snakes. And then if we look at the inside, the cheese looks like mummy wrappings, and then it has pepperoni, mushrooms that look like skulls, and then little green peppers. It does, however, appear to be the same mold, so that does not come out. But I still think this is a really, really cute food piece. This part does snap closed. Then we have this scroll here, which looks to have her math equations on it, which I love that there is little spiders in the math homework. I think that's really cute. And then there is a snake wrapped around the scroll portion here. It does not like roll up or anything. It is hard plastic, but it is a really cute, very detailed piece. And then for her drink accessory, we have Horace coffee. The sticker is on here very poorly, which is very unfortunate. You can see like it's not even like lined up, and it's very crinkly. I don't know what happened. I will potentially very carefully remove it and try and replace it later, because there is this little lip here that I could probably pull on, but I'm not going to do that right now on camera and potentially break it. But that is very disappointing. I don't think I've ever had a sticker this poorly placed, and I've had smaller accessories that have stickers on them, so just something to point out. But I don't care that much for the accessories anyway, other than whatever I put on them on their display. So this will probably just end up in the I use the, it's a caboodle. I don't remember what they called it, but I used the Dracula like case that came with that one doll as accessory holders, and then I used the case that came with the one Cleo as a clothes holder. I still keep them separated and in a special place because they are Monster High accessories, but as of right now, I don't use too many of them. But the cap does come off, and it has a little straw in it, which is very cute. I feel like we've seen this mold before, but this time it is in this like clear blue material. And then last but not least is, well, before the pet, is their backpack, which has this Ankh charm on it, which is really cute. And then I do like the painted detail of the wings here on the big scarab. And then they have tassels hanging off from the bottom and mummy wraps on either side. And then the straps are made out of gold chains. And it does open at the top and have quite a bit of space in there. So you could probably fit a few of the accessories in there for storage, which is nice. Good, because I like that pizza, so I'm glad I'm able to keep that with her. I was setting up to take pictures, and I realized that she'd come with glasses, and then I found them, thankfully, still in the package. So sorry about that. But here are their glasses. They are almost clear with a very slight blue tint to them. They have a scarab here in the center, and then some ankh designs up in the corners. And then the arms are just regular glasses arms. Honestly, these look like glasses rather than like sunglasses. But as far as I was aware, Claudine was the only one who wore like regular glasses and not sunglasses. But these very much look not like, they're basically clear. So I don't think they're meant for sun, but I'm not sure on that. Anyway, there they are on her face. And at least these ones aren't totally bent out of shape, because I'm still a little bit salty about these because I love these ones and she still wears them, but they are very askew to one side because they were like squished in the package. Anyway, and then her pet, of course, is Hisette. This is her second pet, more reminiscent of her G1 pet, but in her original one, she had Tut, which was a little dog. Instead, I believe based on fan reaction, we then received Hisette back. I don't know if she was originally in the plans because she has been featured in previous sets as well as pictured in some of the backgrounds of previous sets, but this is her first appearance in the core line. She has a little gold crown and then purple eyes with black eyeliner. Very limited on the painted details, but the mold or the sculpting is very, very detailed. Like there's texture back here on the back of the head as well as all the way down the body. And I do look like the kind of cushion almost look to it because of the way that the studs are pinned at each corner. Instead of just being diamond shaped, there's these additional stud type details all the way through, which again gives it kind of this like plush cushion kind of vibe that it feels very regal, and I like it a lot. Now we'll look at the doll herself, which of course is just borrowing one of my Amazon stands. She has the dark blue Nile River color, which is staple in Cleo's, and that's something that's been there since G1 from my understanding, is tinsel in Cleo's hair. I know that it can be quite controversial, but again, I personally don't mind it because I don't really redo my doll's hair, and I feel like that's most of the time why people don't like it, is because it can snap easily and pull out, and it's hard to style. But since I leave my dolls as factory, I don't really mind it. I think it's really pretty, especially when it's done right. And this is a good example of it because it is blended really well, and it's not throughout the entirety of her hair. It's really only in these detailed parts. So she has a blonde streak here with the gold going down to the ponytail. And I do like that it's slightly off center. It kind of gives it a like really cutesy vibe. She has the blonde, a lighter blue, and the tinsel here in the part that's pulled up into that ponytail. And then those same minus the tinsel, so the light blue, the gold, and then the dark blue are all in her bangs, which are nicely placed. I almost messed them up when I was pulling her out, but thankfully they are gelled pretty well. I know a lot of people don't like the doll hair with gel as well, but I like when they're in there for like their bangs and stuff. I don't like when their hair is like hard to play with, but it is nice and soft. There's not really any gel back here in this loose area. It's all just up here in the bangs to keep it styled, which is nice. And then she does have these two hair clips. So this one is a snake, and then this one is her diamonds. And then for her earrings, we have these little hieroglyph pieces, which are really cute. I think these might be new molds for her because I don't recognize these. They're really cute. So there's a diamond and this stack of hieroglyphs. Unfortunately, my camera doesn't want to focus on them. And then this little base. So you would be able to kind of probably stand these on their own. They do appear to both be identical molds, even down to the hieroglyphs that's on them. Again, I'm sorry that it's not focusing too well, but that is the best shot that I can get for right now. And then she has a choker, which I wasn't sure if it would be or not, but it is removable. So there is a Velcro piece back here. And I do really like that. It's very small and delicate. And I don't think we've really seen a choker, like a fabric choker yet for Monster High. So I really like that. And then she has this top. It does have little plastic sleeves, but it's meant to look like it's a single strap that's wrapping around over her shoulder. And again, in that like turquoise color, which I really like. And then she has this cute gold top with these big puff sleeves. And then the mummy wrappings down the arm, which is of course fabulous. And then Cleo's unique sculpting is her mummy wraps, which I'm assuming that y'all know Monster High, but just in case you don't, each of the dolls is a slightly different body. There are several different height categories as well as unique molding on each character. So for Cleo, her unique feature is that she has built-in mummy wraps on her arms and on her leg here. Sorry, it is just this arm and this leg. But I really appreciate them. They're actually part of a little lore dump here, and I probably have talked about it before. But these mummy wraps are part of why I became a G3 completionist. Because when G3 was first announced, I was only going to collect certain characters. But when I was looking for I don't remember who I was looking for at that point, but I was maybe Gulia. I don't remember, but I was looking for one of the core dolls and I was looking through them at Target and I saw the sculpting on her hand and arm. And I thought it was just the prettiest thing I had ever seen. And I was so shook that I said, I need to have her. And at that point, like I said, I was getting like, I think Frankie and Laguna and Draculaura. And so then getting Cleo was then the fourth one. So then I was like, all right, well now I need Claudine because why not finish the set? And then at that point, it just kind of went from there. And I kind of reverted back to only collecting certain characters. I do eventually, again, as I said in the earlier portion, eventually plan on collecting all G3 dolls, but I kind of am focusing on certain characters and then waiting for others to be on sale later on. So I kind of go back and forth, but again, I do eventually want to have a full G3 collection. And part of that, again, little lore dump, is I love watching videos of people's G1 collections and like seeing like the shelves just filled with every single doll from the original line. And I just think it looks so cool. And I know I can't do that with G1. Like that's completely like not even something I would want to do because I don't like all the designs from G1. But the fact that I am actively collecting while G3 is coming out, I am doing my best to keep up with them. I know there's a couple like exclusives and stuff that I have not been able to, nor will I probably be able to get my hands on for a while. But if I can at least keep as many of the like main dolls that were like available easily in my collection, then that way once G3 ends, because we all know it will eventually, it probably will be a couple years, hopefully a few more. We've already had almost 3 full years of G3 and with no sign of it currently stopping, which is amazing, but eventually it will come to an end. And at that point, then I'll go back and I'll get anything that I may have missed. So I do, like I said, plan on eventually keeping a full collection of G3, and Cleo has a lot to do with that. So anyway, now that whole tirade is over, I realized that I never looked at her face with you guys, so we'll go back to that really quick. But here is her gorgeous face. So she has this light blue around the eye. Of course, she has her dark liner with her like Eye of Horus design here. And then she has her dark brown brows. Ooh. There we go. Just a little fleck on her forehead from the bangs. And then her beautiful dark blue lips with then that gold accent in the center. I think we've only had 1 or 2 dolls that haven't had that accent. Yeah, the sleepover one didn't have it, but that's because, you know, she was dressed for bed. And then this one didn't have it because it was already all gold. But anyway, not the point. So she has this blue wrap, which I'm gonna see does appear to be a separate piece from the skirt, so that's good. And it does appear like it actually is tied on, so you would have to untie that knot if you wanted to remove it. It is made out of a sheer blue fabric mesh. And then here is the skirt, which velcros in the back, and the details do go all the way around. We have this eye design here in the middle, as well as this really cool scarab design here at the top, and then some pyramids, and then I'm also seeing some spider webs. So we're working in a little bit more of that like more modern spooky by adding in the spider web design. That is really pretty. And then she has this gold piece that's wrapping around her leg. It is currently rubber banded on, and that rubber band will stay there because I don't think that this will stay there without it. But it is a golden snake, which wraps around from here all the way around up her leg, which is so beautiful. But like I said, it's not like super tight to her leg, so I don't know how well that will stay if you take off the rubber band. It definitely has a full loop on it, so it's not like gonna fall off, but it is gonna slide around up and down a lot probably. Because I've seen things like this on like maybe JDs, and they do not stay in place. And then for her shoes, oh my gosh, the canopic jar heels. No, those are so cute. So these have the little Anubis heads, if I'm remembering correctly. And then there are little scarab designs on the front of the jars. And she has, of course, the scarabs on the front of the shoes that are painted. So we do get a little bit of a painted detail. But the rest is sculpted in gold. And then we have some mummy wraps here around the toes. And these are just so cute and very, very Cleo. I love them. And then here on the bottom, we have their original skelet, which I believe Laguna also had. And I think that that is a really cool, like, hidden detail on the bottom of them to have their skelets included, especially since I feel like in this generation, their icons were kind of more their, like, hearts that they each got redesigned. And I feel like whenever they include the skelets, especially those, like, very specific ones, it feels like more of a nod to G1 rather than a G3 design, if that makes sense. I could be wrong on the intention, but that's what it feels like to me. And then, like I said, we are going to look at her next to her original design. So my understanding with the core refresh was I thought that they were kind of like almost attempting to like reinvent the wheels and kind of like redo the characters. But I think that they just did a phenomenal job of just upgrading them. Like, they still have the same feel from their first dolls. They just kind of took the things that they've learned over the past, like I said, at that point it was like 2 years, and kind of just integrated those to upgrade the original designs, because they still have like the same kind of hair color and, you know, color pattern with the gold tinsel. Very like basic with the eyeliner, but then like look at this like upgrade to the blue around her eyes that just makes them pop so much more. And then of course this whole lineup got a lot more darker lips, which I think she actually might have the same color lips as Frankie, which is perfect for when they kiss. That is so cool, that they probably like shared their lipstick when they were getting ready. Top peak. Gold earrings on both of them. They both have neck pieces. This is obviously a much more statement piece for the original one as opposed to the collar, but I really like how this kind of wraps around. It does connect to the back of the shirt, but it kind of looks like it actually just wraps around her neck, which adds to like the mummy detail. They both have wrappings for the arms, but there was no dangle on this one because I was actually on the additional clothing accessory. The original Cleo came with a separate jacket that had the same kind of mummy wrappings on them, but I do like that that's a detail that they carried over. As for the belts, this one is much more detailed, but you also only had a one-piece dress for this Cleo, where this one has a two-piece outfit. So I can understand kind of going with this simpler scarf here. And then as for the legs, so we had boots in the original design, and then in this one we have these shorter shoes. So they had a little bit more space to work with, so they gave her this leg accessory, which I really like because a lot of the designs can be very top heavy, especially with like mini skirts, and they kind of have this huge section up here and then kind of blank and then nothing, and then the shoes down here, so there's like this big empty gap. But I really appreciate this leg piece here. It kind of fills in that space. This one doesn't really need it as much, again, because it does have the boots that go up, so the area of empty space is a lot smaller. But overall, again, very similar vibes. So for their backpacks, we do have originally this pyramid design, which opened at the front and had these removable scarabs on it. And now we have a more traditional backpack shape. It is still, of course, gold and has a scarab on it, but this time it's molded into the design. And the removable piece is this charm here. It is one solid piece that is on a peg, so it is removable, but it's not like swappable with the other bag charms. And then, of course, we have the complete difference in pet. So we have Tut, which was introduced in this set. And then we have Hisette, which, like I said, we've had one other time, at least for the Fabulous Pets line. And before that, we had some images of the two of them together, like in one of the lockers, I believe. So, again, Hisette has been in the works for a while, but this is the pet that she had in G1, just of course updated for G3 to be a little bit cutesier. And then as far as I'm aware, Tut is new. I don't think that they were a G2 creation, unlike the mummy wraps that I was talking about earlier. Those, from my understanding, are actually from G2 that came into being a thing with the individual body molding. But yeah, overall, that is the two of those next to each other. Again, I think they did a phenomenal job with this new wave of really still, as always, just knowing their characters and designing very specifically for them. With the very few exceptions, I've always felt that they are very good at designing for those characters. I don't feel like any of the designs are too generic. There, of course, are always going to be ones where they tried to make the same outfit just in different colors for, you know, each of the dolls. Like the budget line ones, of course, are going to be very like similar. But even then, they have their own touches, and I feel like they do such a good job of designing for the characters. I feel like they have such a passion for them, that the same that we do, because these glow-ups are just something else. And Cleo's always a stunner. I think a lot of the time she's a sleeper hit because she's the most humanoid of characters. So if you look at just her doll, she can kind of seem a little bit more like generic, for lack of a better term, but her fashions always outshine. And so I'm just so glad to have her added to the collection. So I now, of course, have my wonderful sapphics together, and Frankie can now have their long-awaited partner with them. So, and that is how they all sit on my shelves. Any series that has a Frankie and a Cleo in it, they are always right next to each other. I will ship Clanky for the rest of my life, and no one can stop me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed as much as I do. Please don't forget to give a like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you very soon in the next one. And as a reminder, just leave a comment down below or go to my channel to vote which doll you'd like to see unboxed next on the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.